Welcome to the Real Triathlon Podcast. I'm your host, Garrick Lowen, here with Nicholas Chase and Jackson Laundry.
Welcome back to the Real Triathlon Schmodcast.
Rollcast.
And here we are in beautiful Hawaii, where Jackson Laundry is the only reason that we are here.
Cheers.
And he couldn't deliver for us on the day. We all came out here and we expected him to win,
A victory.
to be the champion.
Yeah.
But tell us why that didn't happen. But I mean, obviously that's not what came here. But
Well, it's hot here and my body, I did what I could to get ready. I did probably a good 3 weeks of heat prep.
is it ever enough?
Apparently not. I mean, I could have done better. I could have I think looking back, I could have been a little more scientific about it. Next time I'm going to be doing a hot race, I'd like to try getting that core sensor and really making sure that I'm in the right temperature range for sure. I mean, I did hot rides in the basement with no fan, runs with no fan, and then a bunch of passive heat prep where I was going in the steam room after my swims. And it's like stay in as long as I can, get out for a minute or two, stay in for as long as I can again, get out for a minute again, and just find a way to keep that core temperature elevated for like 30 minutes, which is what they say you're supposed to do. So I definitely got some benefit from it and it helped, but it was just so hot. Like, I definitely think that the heat is not my strength, and I'll have to try, a little bit of a different strategy for heat prep to maybe be successful here the next time. But you know what? I raced as smart as I could. I honestly had a solid swim. I was with that group, Matt Hansen and, others who ended up having a good day. Leon Chevalier, they were in my group. So it's not like I didn't have the opportunity for a good day. Rode really well for like 2.5 hours and kind of got myself in a good position where I'm right with Trevor Foley and Cam Wirth, and staying with Trevor. Like, once Trevor caught Cam and I, he pushed it. Like, he was just firing. Like, he was just having such a great day that I think the pace was just too hot and ended up resulting in me blowing up at about 126, 127K. Just the core temp got too high. Some of those uphills where you're pushing harder, there's less wind cooling, because Trevor was really strong, and then the sun came out and was just heating us up, and I just blew up in the last 75 minutes.
Let's relocate.
You don't want to get rained on? All right, so yeah, Trevor came through. I thought, here's my chance. If I can hang with Trevor and Cam all the way back on the Queen K, we're going to go really fast. I can probably just stay at the back because Trevor's just on a mission, and I bet you he'll just stay at the front. But he was too strong, and it was at that time in the race where I started overheating. Sun was out, and I kind of blew up. And then the last 75 minutes, I was just really struggling, bleeding time, getting caught by guys. I think Lionel went by me at like 15 or 10K to go. And I was like, you know what, maybe I could still run well. I didn't feel that hot because once I kind of like hit the wall, my power output was so kind of not that high. It was like 225 the last 75 minutes. I thought, okay, maybe I can get on to the run and actually pull something off here, which didn't happen. I was so hot to start the run. It was crazy. Like, that feeling coming out of transition, you're going up a little hill and it's like your head is in an oven and you're not even running hard. And you're like, I have to run a marathon now. This is just crazy. Like, that was like the most dreadful few minutes. Probably that first 10K was the hottest section, I would say, along Elite E. There was like not really a breeze because there's like a wall there a lot of the time blocking the ocean breeze. Super sunny, and I just felt so hot. I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I've got to just keep moving. So I was just stopping at every aid station, pouring the ice, the water, getting tons of ice in my suit, spreading it all around. And it was just a question of, could I kind of make it through at that point, really?
Well, you did make it through, and I don't think anyone in triathlon hasn't experienced an overcooked moment of some sort. And sometimes when it's already hot and then you had to work harder, like I've been there many times when you've had great days. And it's just sometimes how it goes. You can do heat prep, you can hydrate well, you can stay within yourself, but sometimes just the body is not going to respond. And it's easy for the brain to kind of check out at that point because you're like, I've been fighting just to get this far, and my body's giving out right now. Like, what else have I got to give? And it's tough to pull back anything.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like for me, the pace was just directly related to if the sun went behind a cloud and we got a bit of a breeze, all of a sudden I'd be running like 30 seconds to a minute per K faster. And then as soon as that heat crept up, it's like my brain knew, okay, this is the speed you can run to not die at this temperature. Like that was it. So a bunch of us were struggling back there on the run. Me and Jason Pohl were kind of back and forth and just decided to run together for pretty much the last half, which was a nice because he was actually running a little better than me, but then he would have to stop to kind of get his hips and back loosened up because he was seizing up. So he once he started running with me, he just kind of ran slower, but then that prevented him from having to stop. So it worked for both of us. But yeah, it was a struggle for sure.
Well, the whole day, like actually, I mean, backing up a little bit, the whole week was full of excitement, a lot of energy. I mean, but it's just another Ironman at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The only difference is championship wise, you've either got to get here by qualifying at some Ironman, a legacy spot. For pros, I think it's become really competitive to get here. It's not easy. Late in the season, sometimes you can get a roll down, but if you look at that start list of those 50 men, those guys win races frequently, not just one or two, or they're always on the podium, and you're included in there. So the field, the gaps, everything's changing, and from the dynamics of the race, it was like Sam's going off the front. Ditlev decided to pull back. Obviously, you knew Sam was cooking it too hard, and I was just like, I think he's going to be dead.
Yeah,
Did, and he was terrible. Blumenfeld really suffered. Was like projectile vomiting on the bike course again. He's just, I don't know, like he's either on or off. Gustav pulled on, like all the names that we heard about over and over. Probably 75% of them didn't have a good day, and that's what even to come here and have a PR at all of 10 minutes, that's amazing. Like,
yeah,
so tough.
it's crazy how hard the conditions are. Like obviously, Patrick was smashing it. The bike has completely changed. You just have the level of increase has increased an incredible amount. The thing that I will say is like encouraging about this race was that if you look at my race to the point of the 125K mark, which was just before I kind of blew up, I was totally competitive. I was still within striking distance of having a great day. Obviously, I overheated and need to work on making sure I think some of those spikes are just not quite as high. Like I pushed it a little too hard up to Javi, probably got my core temp up and then never really came down after that. So I think,
yeah, because you had to go straight with Cam.
yeah, like he caught me. I was kind of hoping, and my plan was, okay, push it a little bit up Javi and then up to Javi. And then on the way back down, whoever I'm with, I can just kind of ride in that group. But it ended up being just me and Cam for a while. And it wasn't that easy to hang with him on the downhill. Obviously, he's a great descender. He's fast. He's aero. So I got a little bit of a reprieve there. But then once Trevor caught us, the level just picked right back up. And it was like, it was hard to just hang in there. And I wanted to take that chance to give myself a chance for a great day. Like if I can hang with these guys, maybe I get, a good benefit along Queen K on the way back and maybe I can have a great day and save some energy, but it was just a bit too much over that limit. So I think just balancing that a little bit better next time and maybe letting the ego kind of push off to the side a bit more in that earlier stages, sort of on the way up to Javi might be smart. And then, once I get to the last hour, if I'm then feeling good, then that's when you can kind of start pushing it. But yeah, just a little bit too nonchalant about the surges, I think, is where it got me.
Yeah, the taxing in this heat, I think normally you can get away with it if it's like 70 degrees out or something. Like not gonna, you've done that before and been okay, but
yeah,
the heat's something special.
For sure. Like in all the other Ironmans I did this year, I mean, it wasn't really hot. It was a little bit warm and placid, and but it wasn't anything to this level where if I pushed hard for a few minutes, I was still able to kind of recover. But here it's once you push hard, your body's not coming back down. So I think it's just amazing how some of these guys can perform in those conditions. It's crazy.
And then beyond that, like it's both our first times here. I would say like there's a lot of mixed emotion from me being like a spectator, but also having some ins and outs and being connected to the race a little differently than just somebody who is spectating, knowing the dynamics, knowing the people who are in the industry and running the show. It just, this race is dialed. Like they got it taken care of for procedures, the hotel, the underpants run, the March of Nations, or I think it's called like Parade of Nations. That was really cool. The only thing I think that there's some things that could improve on is like the expo just seems like a little blah. Like the major people who were there, like most of our partners are there, but it just felt kind of empty sometimes in terms of foot traffic and energy, and a little disconnected how it's like this kind of horseshoe. And I don't know, I'd like to see the people who are paying to be part of this expo, which is not cheap to get all of their gear, all their stuff here. Like it'd be nice if that environment was a little more conducive to creating like more foot traffic and participation and energy beyond just like a pro panel or something.
Like if the expo was a bit closer to the race start or something like that.
Or if it was even in a place where there's like food in the center, like food trucks, and then surrounded by the expo. Like that's what Challenge Roth was like. It was almost like too many at Challenge Roth because there was like hundreds of vendors.
Yeah.
But there was 200,000 people like in and out of there all weekend long.
Whoa.
And for this one, it was like just a select crew of Ironman partners, and that was about it. The coffee boat is cool to swim to. AG1 obviously took that over and was pumping out AG1. I don't know. It just seems like the commercialism aspect needs to be a little more cohesive, and it would have been nice to see more brands represented.
Yeah. Yeah. I was over at that expo a little bit to do the Pro Series panel, but it looked, I was a little surprised it didn't feel like a bigger deal. But overall, it's a really cool vibe here in Kona. It was awesome to be here, awesome to participate, finish. Wasn't the last finisher, I was closer to last than first, but
no, you did good.
A lot of people struggled. Like, it just seemed like a few of us were just, dealing with it, struggling for a little while. It was me and Gustav struggling together on the bike. Like towards the end, we were riding together, and then he ended up dropping back, and then he crushed by me on the start of the run, and then he went backwards and was, I think, hypoglycemic or something. But this race will get you. Like, it looks so easy when you watch it. You're like, oh yeah, you just like pace it well, and don't get too aggressive and whatever. And then you like go out there and you're still like 8 minutes behind sort of the front guys or even the lead group after 120K, and you still went too hard. Like it's a crazy level.
With cloud cover, it's like you're racing in a sauna that doesn't have any like direct, like it's just like ambient heat.
Yeah.
But when the sun peaks out, it like amplifies it by like 5.
Yeah, it's really crazy as soon as that sun peaks out how much it just goes from hot to like oppressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, lots of positives. I was stoked to see Max get in there in the top 10, and it was an exciting race, like to watch as they were coming back from the turnaround, and I was still like way slow heading out there. But it's a pretty cool place if you haven't done it. I mean, most people haven't. It's really hard to qualify. I think it's one of those things where even if you're suffering the heat, it's worth freaking doing if you qualify, because it's a cool experience. And
well, everyone wants to come here.
Yeah,
but there's some big things you got to think about.
What would you say as like more or less a spectator? Is it worth coming to spectate?
I think this race is worth coming to spectate.
Yeah,
because it's a big ordeal. Everyone's forced to be in Kona or Kona area to come do everything. The only thing you want to plan for, excuse me, the only thing you need to plan for is where you're going to stay, how you're going to park. And like, I had a bike, so I could get in and out of places pretty easy. Didn't have to park, but parking can be really tough down there if you've got to get in and out all day. Just because it's not big, but it's not like massive lots. Like I think Walmart, you could park in on race morning. There's shuttle services on race morning. I think we navigated it pretty well.
Yeah.
But I think that is, if you've got a family and kids and a wife or is pushed strollers around and you're a husband, or if it's the females racing and the males gotta, you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
someone's gonna have to navigate all the logistics of this course
Yeah.
because it's tough. The road closures, they shut down a lot of Elite E for the run, and then most all the Queen K. Like I was able to ride out there on a bike, but it was still I was getting yelled at for just being out there a little bit. And
Yeah.
then once it got busy, like it's real tough to not be in the way.
Yeah. Just
Spectating
definitely a
is
huge
tough.
ordeal. It's one thing that kind of like I wasn't sure what to expect and hadn't looked into it much was the amount of like the size of the town here. It's just like it's not a big place at all. There's not a lot of roads. It's one sort of central area, and it feels like such a small town to have a world championship at. And they manage it extremely well, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I thought, oh my God, how is this even possible? And it wasn't too bad. Like they really manage it, but I could totally see how it made sense to shift it away from both males and females every year.
Well, if they're going to keep the entries like more and more and more, like if it was 2,500 male and female or whatever, 2,000 male and 1,000 female or something, like the ratio is just, it's tough to nail that down because participation wise, there's going to be less females than males, but
yeah,
like it's just tough to make it incredibly equal, I think. And that's really where Ironman tried to do it right to make it equal, got too big. I can't imagine having a Thursday and a Saturday race here. That would have been really tough.
Yeah.
What they did 2 years ago, shutting down the town and the roads that much. I think that's probably why I think that had to not happen again.
I feel like the locals definitely expect the race, and anything down towards where the race takes place or the bike roads where the race actually happens. I rode on the Queen K in like the main part of the bike course and never had any issues, never had any locals getting upset or anything like that. I think that they definitely aren't used to like this many people being here all at once the rest of the year. So if you're out, on other roads and stuff, sometimes people get a bit frustrated, but overall, I think most people understand that this race is like pretty big for the tourism here.
It has to be, but I'll come out and say it. Like I went on a couple of group rides that were not on the Queen K, and then like the Captain Cook's loop, and then even today going up a little higher and riding the road that kind of hugs the mountain top. Like we just get yelled at for being on the road. Just get off the road. Like the locals, there was a lot of locals who were friendly and very kind and generous and nice, but like the drivers, well, I'm not impeding you. I'm on this massive shoulder on the right side and just getting yelled at and honked at just for existing. I felt that to be incredibly against what I thought the aloha vibe was here in Hawaii. It's like there's so much tension between anybody who doesn't directly benefit from this race because they're just a little outside of the town, but they have to deal with the traffic. I could see that being frustrating, but I don't know why it's like one person. My one bike ride isn't making your life that difficult.
It's tough. Like you deal with it in a lot of races where you have, half the locals are like, this is great. It's good for our tourism. Maybe they don't benefit directly, but they're happy with it. And then some people just don't have the patience and they're like, I don't need this. This is, slowing me down and I don't have time for this. So yeah.
I saw some crazy stuff on the bike course too.
Really?
Going up Kuakini Highway, that long out and back. So on the way out, Sam Laidlow was like the only guy by like a couple minutes.
Yeah.
There was an older woman in this white SUV just cruising down the road, and everyone is waving at her to get off the road because you can see Sam Laidlow hustling down the road.
Down the hill or up?
Up.
Yeah.
And then she has no idea. Like she's panicking, and all of a sudden it was so scary. All of a sudden she just floors it and sends it straight, and then like careens off into this parking lot, and like her brakes are screeching because she just had no idea that she was on the bike course and freaked out and panicked. And she had to have been about 75 years old driving around.
Yeah.
And then not only 10 minutes later, there's an old van coming on the road with this old guy driving it. And he's just driving like it's the regular day. And everyone else, Sam is coming down behind him at like 35 miles an hour. And this van is just not moving. Like it was a bit sketchy in going in and out of town. Like they were just there wasn't somebody at every crossroad.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. I did notice a couple times there was a car out that just like went onto the course randomly, and I'm like, wait a minute, how are they out here? Like the course was fully supposed to be closed, but maybe they had some allowable for local traffic where
well, on Kuakini, when it came back into the like Palani area, there was like a little route of traffic designated for cars. But where you guys were on Kuakini Highway, like there shouldn't have been any cars on that at all.
Yeah.
There was no space. So it was sketchy.
Yeah, there was some few moments of cars out there where I thought this isn't really an issue. Like there's space here, but I could see how this could have gone wrong. So hopefully there was no issues with that. Other things happened in the race. Trevor freaking crashed. That sucked because he was firing, and I really think he would have competed for the podium with how I've seen him compete in the heat before, and with the experience he has, and how like when he seems to be like when he's on, he is really on.
Yeah,
and he was having like an even better than Lake Placid in terms of his bike. His swim was not very good, but his bike was so good. I think he was going to get onto that run and just smash it. So I was really disappointed for him. Like he's crushed, but he's like 25. He's going to come back and smash this race a bunch of times.
it's just the weirdest thing is you've got such bike power and such capacity to consume and utilize carbohydrates. Those two things are what is changing the sport.
Yeah.
And it feels like some guys are just really faster adapted than others.
Yeah, the bike has changed everything. Like, I'm like really happy with where my bike has come to, and I'm still just thinking I've got to keep pushing because it's only going to keep getting better. So that's why I'm going to be going to the wind tunnel at least once next year, hopefully more. Working with my partners to really optimize my equipment and choices specific for each course. Envy's got that new wheel set coming out, the 100 front with the disc rear that's super fast, and like I gotta keep pushing the limits because that's what everybody else is doing. And like if you look at obviously Sam Laidlow smashed the bike course record, a bunch of other guys were at or just under it. Trevor was going to be 4 hours flat or a little better, which is unreal. But if you look at the splits up to when I kind of blew up, I was competitive with that front group, which had a huge amount of firepower, which I was really happy with. I was only a couple minutes slower, I think, for the first 125K. So I just have to keep pushing that. And even with the blow up, I went 4:12.
Yeah.
The course record, I was just watching just like a recap of the 2017 race when Lionel had that great race. And I was like, just curious how that race played out and wanted to watch it again. And the recap, like Cam Wirf set the bike course record that year, and it was either 4:10 or 4:11.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just come down. Like half the field is now faster than the 6 or 7 years ago course record. So it's crazy. It's crazy, and you got to keep pushing it. And obviously the new equipment I've got has been awesome. The Ventum is super quick.
Ventum just did not plan to officially launch their bike here, but
it happened.
They launched the new Tempest frame, which will be available late or earlier next year. Probably like
spring.
Yeah, maybe springtime next year. And I would, if you're like in the market for a bike, I would wait for that bike because the price points on it are amazing. The aero stuff on it is like of the most latest.
Yeah.
It's light, it's rigid, just doesn't have built-in hydration yet, which is why the Ventum One disc is still amazing because it put a leader on there and it just integrates. And that bike is also still fast.
Yeah.
So Ventum really did a good job, and they had like Pro Tri News. When did Pro Tri News become like the news source for Ironman? They were like running so much of the news. It was
they were running like interviews at Bike Check-In for the race on Friday. And
I mean, I love Kyle, so that's amazing. I'm glad they're doing well.
Yeah, it seems cool. I mean, I just don't know. I think they just came in and filled a niche that wasn't really there.
Yeah.
Because they're really just doing pro racing, all pro racing, not just long course. And it seems like a lot of Tri News medias cover pro racing, which is great, but they're like the only ones that focus solely on that. And I think that's kind of where they've been able to fill that void.
Yeah. It's kind of nice. It's kind of nice that Ironman isn't controlling all the narrative of the sport.
Yeah, I think it's good. I think it was great to have them there. And like the key with them is like they just know so much about every athlete, every race, every performance, and they can interview anyone on the start list and be like, "Oh, you had a good race here. This is what your season's been." And like with the Ironman folks, it's hard for them to keep track of all that because it's not their full-time job. Yeah. So that's where Pro Tri News, I think, it's really successful.
And for sure, Paul K, like I said this back in Austria when I met him for the first time, like 5, 6 years ago. Like Paul K, I think, is the voice of Ironman. Like he's so well spoken. He's like you can understand everything he says all the time. He's very passionate. He's very good with his words. I'm glad Paul K is like and taking over. And I forgot the other woman's name who was commentating. I think she had an accent.
She was Irish. I forget her name, which I heard she did a great job as well. And I was curious. I didn't watch the coverage really, but what did you think? Did you watch pieces of it?
Yeah, I was watching some of it, and like the helicopter shots were awesome. Especially like at one point, Rudy made a little bit of a move. It looked like a Tour de France style shot. Like he's just probably going 35, 40 miles an hour on this attack. Just everything's whipping past him, but he's in focus. Like that looked really good. It looked like from the rest, like they do a lot of camera angles that makes it look like everybody's on top of each other in the bike course, but it's really spaced out pretty equally.
Yeah.
Like I think Race Ranger was working well.
Yeah.
Everyone in the bottom line is like when you're climbing, there's no draft to be had. So
yeah.
I don't ever mind if people are at like 8 to 10 meters on a climb.
Yeah.
It spaces itself out and everyone gets out of the drafts really quick. But I think the coverage in general, I didn't see them talk about more than the front of the race, but
yeah,
that's the way it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. It would have been interesting if they'd have, because a lot of the people who had a good day ended up coming from behind. So you had Leon, Leon was 4th.
Yeah.
Cam Worth was 7th. Matt was 10th. They were all out either with my group or behind.
Yeah, like 30th at hobby or something like that.
Yep. Trevor, I really think was going to be top 5. And he was out last, wasn't he?
He was out well behind.
Yeah, he was really struggling.
Like 5 minutes down, I think even.
That would have been huge to see that. Lionel was pushing up, but ended up faltering back. But yeah, Kona, that's the way it always goes. There's always a few people who manage to push their way through from behind and still have a good day. So that's encouraging. Where if you get out of the water and you're not in the lead group, you can still have a solid race.
It seems like the people who come here and put a lot of emphasis on being here to prepare for being here, that I haven't seen that. I don't remember when that's like been the equation that works out.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, I think Trevor was going to have a fantastic day. He got here Thursday. 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah, Thursday.
Like it's pretty crazy. But I honestly don't think coming late is necessarily too bad as long as your body can handle the physical
time change,
but also the aches and the stiffness you get from a plane and stuff. Like for me, if I had to race 2 or 3 days after, like my hips and my back were all tight, I would have had to, get some work and really loosen all that stuff up. Cause I did that swim race 2 days after getting here and I didn't feel very good on that. And then on race day, I did feel good. Like, I don't think I did anything wrong with preparations, but I was 8 days before. That's
pretty standard.
Pretty average. Like some people are a little more, some people a little less, but it's coming a few weeks before seems like it maybe is a bit much.
Unless you're European and you really want to adjust that time zone, because that's like probably almost 12 hours or something.
Could be 12 hours for a lot of those guys. Yeah.
I mean,
as bad as it gets.
That's tough. Like you feel zombie for like 5 days and then you finally feel good. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think beyond that, I had fun cheering.
Yeah.
I had fun riding around. I felt like I was really busy, way busier than I had expected all week long with ZOOT commitments and then trying to make sure I'm present here at the house and taking care of the athletes I had racing and then getting people ready for California. Ironman California had some guy racing there. And then next week's Ironman Florida. So racing is still like pretty hot and heavy. And then you've got 7.3 Worlds. Like, I can't believe how late in the year that is.
Yeah.
And now the Pro Series rankings are going to change even more. Like, some guys shot right up into the lead.
Yeah.
Just kind of crazy. I think even being at T100 last weekend, seeing that whole thing and being there for Dubrick and then coming here, it's just been nonstop. But I really liked seeing the T100 aspect of it and then coming straight here. That was really cool to see the comparison.
Yeah. Do you think that there's things that Ironman could do better that T100 does or vice versa?
I think T100 they are 5-star on pro treatment.
Yeah.
Maintain it. Like, I think the course layout, how people could get around on the course, the overall spectators in general, like it just felt kind of empty in terms of that angle.
Yeah.
But the people who were racing T100, they were like, they knew the sport, they knew the pros. It wasn't like beginners. You didn't see any road bikes.
Yeah.
It was people who, if you're racing T100, you know how to do triathlon pretty well. You've been in it for a while and you're a fan. I think that's the biggest thing I noticed.
Okay.
Not a lot of beginners.
Yeah. And we had Mark with a solid competitive day, faltered a little more on the run than he probably would have liked. And then Tamara with she 8th.
Yeah, Tamara had a good day.
Solid day for her. So decent, results there. And T100, maybe I'll go do one next year. Who knows? Maybe none. Maybe all.
Well, I mean, what do you think next year? Do you think they're gonna still offer contracts to people to stick with them, or
I think we're gonna see them offer contracts and make people be exclusive about it.
that was a big red flag this year, wasn't it?
So we'll see. They're going to make people do more of the races. I think I hope they count more for the series. So instead of your best 4 or whatever it is, was it 3 or 4?
I think it's 4.
4. Yeah. I mean,
4 of 6, but now it's 4 of 5.
yeah, I don't know. It's tough. Like with most other series of any other kind of sport, you're going to count more than just your best half or less. So it'll be interesting to see because somebody who gets like 5th to 10th, 6 or 7 times isn't really rewarded for that. Whereas if you get top 3 times, you're better off. So we'll see. But I do think they're going to try to get people to stick around for more, maybe prevent them from doing other branded races or make certain ones a requirement. Like maybe the first one of the year is the requirement or something.
Yeah.
But
I just want to see a standalone body maintain the rankings.
yeah,
I don't think Ironman should own a global ranking. I don't think T100 should. Challenge shouldn't. I think that someone needs to say, we're going to take these rankings, because what I noticed is all the T100, or I don't even know if it's called PTO rankings anymore, but if you look at the top 10, they're all like, all you have to do is race 1 or 2 T100 series and finish not last, and you'll get a massive strength of field boost. Massive.
Yeah, the race I did in San Francisco where I didn't have it was my out of my 7 races this year, out of my 10 races, it was my 8th best. So not good. It's like my 4th or 5th best score for the year. I think it's my 4th. Like it's only 1 off of counting for my top 3. I'm like, this was not a good performance at all. This was not even comparable to like the rest of my races, and it's worth more than any.
I know. I think that's my only like issue with the current T100 rankings or P1 PTO rankings, is that you look at the top 10, it's all people who race T100, of course. And then the Ironman series has their own things now. So I guess maybe we just go off of each individual series, but I'd still think if it's going to be a PTO pro tri organization, it should be.
They just need to go in and like reduce the weight of the T100 if they want to make it balanced. I think
make it balanced with like regular 70.3s, and then just adjust the strength of field, because that's going to be higher no matter what.
Yeah.
I don't know. You were part of the change, and I know
we didn't. We developed a structure, but they just went and controlled the tiers completely. So they were like, "Oh no, T100, all the races are going to be the highest tier, and the only Ironman one that's going to be the highest tier is Worlds." So they have 8 races a year that are the highest tier that are not nearly as competitive as Kona. They're competitive. They're really hard races, but there's only 20 people on the start line.
Yeah.
Here you have 60 guys that are all relatively equal with the 20 in the PTO.
And the gaps for first to 10th were like what is it, 16 minutes or 26 minutes or something?
Yeah, like obviously in an Ironman, it's way harder to maintain the gaps compared to a shorter race, because like you blow up, you're just going backwards. But yeah, it's they just kind of took the tiers over and decided their races were worth the most, and then it's hard to compete with that in terms of points. So like if you look at the Vegas race, it's like, I don't think 10th place at the Vegas race when 15 finish or whatever should be worth 80 plus 85 points or whatever it was or more. So anyways, it's the game we're in, and we'll see what they do next year for who gets in. And like you might have to have people not doing some of the Ironman series. Like I think they're definitely going to try to prevent people from doing Ironman series and T100 series.
Only one guy did that well. That was Sam Long.
No, he did not do in the Ironman series. Is Brad Weiss.
Oh yeah, sorry, Brad White.
Brad Weiss is going to be probably top by the end of the series. He'll still be in the top like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
And then what you do have though is you have people who got some like wild cards into the T100 but weren't committed to it that are doing well in the Ironman series or
Kyle Smith.
Yeah. No, he's not in this Ironman series. You had Clément Mignon was really in a good spot for the Ironman series until he flatted in Frankfurt.
Yeah.
But you have people trying both, and
oh yeah, he was out there racing.
oh yeah, I never saw him.
I didn't either.
I don't think he finished.
He must have pulled out.
But
it was what, 9 or 10 people pull out?
Yeah, something like that.
Pretty high attrition.
Maybe 11. But everyone seemed to like finish who could finish, Like I think Gustav was really having a medical issue because when I went by him, he was like white as a ghost. He did not look good.
Yeah. I saw everyone giving honor to the race itself. Like Andre Lopez was in a bad spot. Thor Bendix Madsen, bad spot.
Yeah.
They were just hating their lives out there in the energy lab, but they finished.
Yeah.
Kudos.
Yeah. There's a lot of us who probably questioned whether we could finish for a while.
Like, do I just need to prove I can run another marathon? I could do it, I guess. But I'm gonna hate it.
Yeah. But anyways, vacation for me. That's awesome. I'm not gonna race anymore. I got a week here, another 6 days from now to just chill.
And it's raining a lot behind us.
Yeah, this would have been great yesterday for Spring's Day.
Like yesterday, it rained for like the last 4 or 5 hours during the race, nonstop.
Yeah, like for the age groupers, probably in the late afternoon.
And then today it's been raining on and off. I can't believe it. I don't think I've ever seen a Kona where there's rain.
Yeah, we had like 30 seconds of rain going up to Kailua-Kona, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then it stopped. And I was like, yeah. But yeah, we'll maybe be here one year where there's a freak cold front rainstorm and I'll just be crushing it.
I think it's just got to be hot and terrible. And like, I want to see people just overcome that and figure it out.
Yeah, we'll overcome it. We'll get some more, a little bit more science, Norwegian method in the.
It kind of failed though.
It did fail them, but a little bit of science mixed into the heat training, and that might help me. And I think I'll have to race with that damn thing and be like, all right, core temp, like train with it, learn what thresholds are doable, and then just say, okay, this is the core temp where if I get to this point, I cannot surge. I must not allow my core to increase anymore. And then if I have to lose a group, I have to lose a group because it'll all pay off later if we keep the core temp down.
That Hansen's proof.
Yeah.
So next we've got myself and Garrick in a race, Ironman, Cozumel. Then you've got Tamara, Lisa, Leslie, and Mark going to 70.3 World Champs. Nicole, I think, is going to do Indian Wells.
Yeah.
We've got some RTSX folks doing Indian Wells.
So am I the only one who's done racing?
You're the first one done, but you've done 5 Ironman.
Only 4.
4 Ironman. So I think you are done. I'll only have done 3.
Super done. I can't wait to take what I learned this year and just make it even better next year.
Yeah, you just get hungrier.
I know. So hungry.
And I think we're going to try to have a house here next year for RTS and keep the vibe. I think it's important if you plan to be in this sport and represent the athletes, like you got to show up to the biggest races and support them.
Did you hear the potential interest from our very own Tamara Jewett of doing an Ironman next year?
That'd be crazy good.
I'd
love to see her have a good one.
Could crank that out and get the and Mark. We could have maybe her come to Kona if she qualifies. Yeah.
Mark's the same. Mark's coach was like, all right, you're gonna have to go along. You're 30 years old. Trevor's 25. You better time. There's no like I'm too young anymore.
Yeah. We'll see Marcus try to crank it out. I still think he's got his best races coming. Last year he had his best races in like November, December. So I
think he needs to not even if he's gonna do a full, he should wait until late in the year. Get his good stuff out. St. Anthony, St. George, Oceanside, some of the maybe Beijing again. Like he's so strong and dominant there. Get a T100 slot or something like that, and then maybe if you still got, then try later in the year.
Yeah, I really think doing a full later for your first one's good because you don't have that pressure of, I got to have a good race because early in the season, there's a little bit more high pressure to get a good one under your belt. But that being said, my first 2 races next year are probably both going to be full. So now I know I can do it.
How early is your first one?
Well, if I decide to go to Africa, which I think I will, that's March 30th.
That's early.
Yeah, it's a little early, but it's only like a week before Oceanside, so
So that and then Texas
I think so.
in April.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, until next time, we'll be Jackson won't he's gonna retire from the podcast. He's retiring from the sport for the
2 weeks.
next 2 weeks. So we won't see him for a minute.
Yeah, it's vacation time.
Peace out.
Peace.